stroll into my local GameStop, looking to pick up a copy of Persona no Emblemu Waifu Jam Gaiden. Pick up the game and take it to the charming maiden at the register.
"Pardon me, milady, but could you ring me up? A shame I don't have your number, or I'd ring you up instead."
She giggles and takes the game, blushing as her fingers brush mine due to my fingerless gloves. Her eyes widen as she reads the game's title.
"Wow, I've never seen anyone buy this before. You must have special taste."
I smile and ready a witty response when suddenly a voice rings out from behind. "Ha ha ha! Look at what this faggot is buying. That's not Call of Duty. What a piece of shit." I quickly turn around, my cloak billowing around me, to discern the source of the rude outburst. Generic dude bro caricature with a sports team cap and the guy that beat you up that one time behind the school in early October shirt is standing there guffawing.
"Excuse me, sir. You may disparage my person if you wish, but it is untoward to swear in front of a lady."
"Fuck you, faggot." I smile quietly and tip my fedora low across my eyes, concealing them.
"As you wish."
I quickly swing my cane into his kneecap before he can react. He bellows and charges forward. I expertly sidestep, and the cashier screams as he crashes into the counter. I draw my sword cane and mutter a quiet oath as I drive it deep into his back.
"Requiescat in pace."
As I clean my blade, the girl walks out from behind the counter, twirling her hair with her fingers.
"So, maybe you'd like to come over to my place and play that game sometime?" "No thanks, milady. It's a single player only. Besides,"
I sheathe my sword,
"you're not my type."
I skate away on my heelys. Go into women's studies class, expecting to be the only guy in a class of hot girls. I open the door. 99% of its students are fat neckbeards, suffocating the feminist dykes crammed next to them. Sit and try to calm down and remember what supreme and wise leader Kevin would do. I raise my hand. Teacher? I just want to say..." Suddenly, all the neckbeards in the class raise their hands in a chaos and start screaming about her story. One neckbeard dressed in girl's clothes said,
"Oh god, that is so sexy. I love men who respect women."
Crowds of sweating weeaboo virgins roll over to him and spaz out.
"Will you marry me? Yeah, I wanna fuck you." "No, get away, she's mine."
The basement dwellers proceed to eat one another while the fat and ugly trap pulls out his dick and starts masturbating. All the women in the class have vomited and are crying in their own puddles. Feminist teacher has committed seppuku, having seen the lowest that a man can possibly aspire to. Put head on desk and cry like I do in every class like the beta faggot I am. Thanks, Kevin, you fucking dick! Back when I was 18, it was my senior year. We were a month from graduation when we had that thing transferred to our school last minute. This creature was 5'4" and weighed upwards of 300 pounds. He wore a white trench coat and had spiked hair with a full neckbeard. The motherfucker looked like Rick from Rick and Morty. He even tried to do Rick's voice, but his lisp and general fatness made it sound like an asthmatic Donald Duck who smoked a pack a day for 50 years. We'll call him Rickbeard. It's pizza day, and Rickbeard decided to sit by me. He was clearly looking at the girls in the lunch line before opening up with,
"What's up, Morty? You staring up all this ass? I bet that bitch would definitely let me eat her ass."
I'm skinny, white, and wore a yellow t-shirt, so I see why he'd call me Morty. I immediately move to another table. He follows. He says with a fake burp and a stutter,
"Stick around me, and you'll be slaying all these booty holes."
Apparently, he used to be a fedora-tipping chivalrous gentleman, but he has taken the red pill and has become woke to those deceptive wenches. He showed up to graduation pissed drunk and grabbed our principal's butt after she handed him his diploma, but got off for being special ed. He even got his own applause and fits of extreme laughter from me and my stoner friends. We then decided to take him to our fellow classmates' graduation parties. I like to say we did it because the motherfucker was lonely, but we really only did it for maximum lulz. First party we took him to was pretty uneventful. All he did was pillage the food table and stare at all the girls. The second party did not disappoint. It was for one rich Chad, who got half of all the female attention in the school. His family wasn't there, and there was more alcohol than food. Rickbeard, who was already drunk, began a cycle of drinking and grinding on girls, and yes, guys too. Rickbeard took one last drink before yelling, I'm fuck all you bitches, and then collapsed and we had to take him home. And there ends the story of Rickbeard and Morty. In linear algebra class, the vector intersects the points O and P, so it's the OP line. Call it the faggot line out loud without really thinking. A few people laugh. Teacher dude just stares at me like, why? Laughter dies down. Some neckbeard at the back of the class keeps laughing. Try to continue on with the lesson, but he won't stop. We hear some gagging, then the sound of an inhaler, and then the laughter resumes. We all turn around to look at him. He's still cracking up. His face is all blue and red. I'm thinking, what have I done? He falls out of his chair, wiggling around on the floor, still laughing maniacally. He can't control himself. He starts to fart. A few girls around him pass out. The farting continues. It shows no signs of stopping. You can hear the farts change in tone, and the smell gets deeper. We all know he is now shitting himself. The shit forces its way out of his crappy, holy jeans. He is still a bright blue/red and laughing. The shit rocket that is his ass begins to make him spin. He now looks like a Catherine wheel firework powered by shit instead of fire. Spaghetti rockets from his pockets, knocks out a few dudes around the classroom. At this point, we all retreat outside the room and continue viewing from a safe distance. He's still wiggling and spinning and generally just wreaking havoc. We hear some sputtering and he slows down. He's now lying limp in the middle of the room. We all open the doors and take a few steps in. We think he's dead. We hear some gurgles and see him tilt his head around to look at me. I lean in to hear his last words without having to get closer to him. He looks up at teacher dude with tears in his eyes and says his dying words. He thrusts his hips into the air and says, "Back that maths up." Teacher dude goes over and closes his eyes, informs us that we have learnt all we can about linear algebra. I leave the room, a single tear in my eye. Just a little info about me and the story. I'm a gamer and a girl, so I get a lot of neckbeard gamers. I'm also not the prettiest, far from it. I'm chubby and have brown hair. I always use Snapchat filters. Also, at this time, I was heavily into Overwatch on the Xbox. I had a boyfriend at this time. It was a while back, so the conversations aren't 100% right, but it's close enough. I am also extremely nice. But when a neckbeard does his things, I back off and stop being nice. The cast, just 2 people. Me and the neckbeard. I met this guy in an Overwatch lobby. He thought I was funny, and he added me. He then asked me for my Snapchat. I gave it to him because I thought nothing of it. Now, he was kind of chubby and bald. Not my type, but I don't judge unless I have to. One conversation we had went like this.
I look so ugly.
Nah, I've seen worse, lol. You're cute. I regret saying that now, but I didn't want to be rude.
Do you mean it?
Sure. After a while, he started to flirt with me more and more. We played games together, but since he kept flirting, I started to stop playing games with him. I was just trying to be nice, so I told him that I had a boyfriend and had no feelings for him, the neckbeard.
You led me on.
I wasn't trying to, I was trying to be nice.
You still led me on.
Look, you can try to guilt trip me, but I did not lead you on. I was being nice. I'm sorry if I did, but it was not my intention.
Yeah, well, you being nice made me think that you had feelings for me.
I'm sorry I was nice, lol. I'm sorry that you think being nice equals flirting from a girl. In history class, simultaneously working on my biceps and taking flawless notes from the professor's lecture. Door opens, 5 minutes late. A rotund mass blots out the light from the hallway. A wild neckbeard appears. 5'2", 350-pound fatless, balding manlet with a chili-stained Sonic shirt walks into the class. Persona 4 falls out of his pocket, disrupting the entire class. Everyone is looking at him. He notices my Call of Duty Ghosts shirt. Mouths, "Casual." I stand up and face him, making sure he is very aware of our nearly 2-foot height difference. "What did you say to me, boy?"
Casual.
Kneel down to get on his level. Ask him why. He goes on about Activision, DLC, etc. I flawlessly refute his argument with facts that he is a virgin neckbeard and knows nothing about life. All the girls start laughing. He starts crying and farting in a fetal position on the ground. Look down at his sorry ass. I pull out a shank concealed in my muscles and whisper, "And now it's time for you to die, my friend." Start stabbing him in the chest. He cries and bleeds out of his mouth. Entire classroom starts chanting, "Blood! Blood! Blood!" Louder and louder. Slit down his stomach, rip out his heart. "You never used this anyway." Throw it in the trash can and moonwalk out of the classroom in perfect form, leaving my Joel Bauer signature business card on the ground. B. Disgusting neckbeard. See a girl in school I fancied. Being a neckbeard, I didn't exist to her. Shave neckbeard. Join boot camp workout training program. After 6 months, lose 60 pounds and look like a normal human. This is when I strike. Read tons of books on picking up girls, watch pickup artist stuff. Lay tons of bullshit and lies on the girl in an attempt to attract. Because she's in high school, it works. Also, she didn't recognize me as the neckbeard. We start dating. Things are going swimmingly. This is where the fun begins. I slowly, very slowly, gain back my weight. Simultaneously, I slowly grow my neckbeard back. I also slowly work in my old wardrobe, begin to acclimate her to my neckbeard ways. 2 years later, my face when I am a disgusting neckbeard with a hot girlfriend. My face when slow deformation into neckbeard is not noticed by girlfriend I see every day. My face when I am the alpha beta. My stepbrother is a fat, cringy neckbeard. I'm bored as fuck right now, so here's some cringe. A few years ago, we're both in high school. We decide to make our own anime forum to fuck around with. We get a few members. One girl starts posting on our forum. Says she's super in love with stepbrother. In forum chat, they are both having cyber sex in front of everyone. He didn't realize that I'm an admin and can see IPs. He was literally logging in as both the girl and himself, and was essentially having cyber sex with himself. Pollo Beard, named after a game he loves, and I have known each other for about 6 years. We used to work together at a video game store that had a very small employee base, so he and I shared a few shifts together every week. Originally, he had started off as a customer who was a well-known regular, and sometimes, while I bullshitted with him, he would throw in awkward comments like, "Well, if I was your boyfriend, blah blah," or "Hell, I would date you, but you probably wouldn't want to date someone like me." Creepy as they seemed, I didn't think much of his comments though. Being a girl working at a video game store, you get hit on pretty much every day. After we had worked together for a while, and despite his sporadic, uncomfortable comments, we had actually become quite good friends. Eventually, I sometimes would go over to his apartment to hang out. I stopped going over to his place though, and I'll explain why. His apartment was always gross, with trash piled at the door, dirty laundry scattered across the floor, and counters piled with papers and other random things. His apartment smelled of old mac and cheese mixed with Axe body spray. His living room carpet was always full of crumbs, and his couch was covered with unknown stains. He also made a pretty bad host. Half of the time, if I came over, he would turn on his game, join his friends in party chat, and play with them, completely ignoring me. So yeah, I don't go over there anymore. The place we worked at eventually closed down, and all of us went our separate ways. I still semi-talked to Neckbeard, but with a lot of basic responses. See, besides his gross hygiene, Neckbeard was also an asshole narcissist. He would constantly belittle me, talk down to me, and make fun of me for making reasonable decisions, while at the same time talking himself up as if he were a god. Now for the part where he asked me out. And let me tell you, I'm amazed that someone would honestly believe I would say yes after everything he did. So he walks into my new job to grab some food, and decides to come up to my coworker and I and start chatting. My coworker just mentioned the fact that I look very tired. Neckbeard said,
Well, that's because she's retarded and decides to complicate her life by working 2 jobs. She works harder than me, but makes less money than I do.
I mentioned to him, as I always do when defending myself, I actually enjoy working where I do, and having money is nice. Neckbeard,
You don't even spend your money responsibly. If you did, you wouldn't be saying you're broke all the time.
I rarely ever complained about how much money I have, knowing others who struggle way more than I do.
Neckbeard, See, this is why you need a man in your life, so that he can just buy you everything you want.
My coworker chimes in with an inside joke of, she don't need no man. Neckbeard,
Well, if she wants to keep struggling, that's on her. I make 50 grand a year at my work, so I always have plenty of money to spare.
I decided to cut off the conversation and began to look busy, hinting at him to leave. He goes to do so, but before he makes it out the door, he turns around and says,
Just go out with me, Elf. Your life would be so much easier if I was your boyfriend.
I just said, bye, Pollo, and leave. Update. He came into my store again today and told me,
We are a perfect match. We need to start dating.
After my coworker was talking about another guy I'm interested in. Alrighty. Be 11th grade. Around 2011, so My Little Pony is really taking off. A lanky autist who always wore retarded shirts that said stuff like I own noobs has been in my class since 8th grade. He gets into MLP. Comes to school one day wearing a pink shirt with one of those fucking horses on it. People, naturally, pick on him. He gets defensive. This guy was one of those talky autists who got himself into shit by saying retarded stuff. He eventually snaps and says,
You can't hurt me. With the magic of friendship, words have no effect on me.
The guy then says, But you have no friends. He loses his shit and spends the rest of the day excluded. That's how it all began. I'll do a disgusting one next. After a few weeks of this, he gets even worse somehow. All he talks about is ponies now. The teachers are required to talk to kids with no friends and disabilities so that they can develop social skills or something. Every day, the teachers always have to hear him talk about the fucking show. Some straight up avoid talking to him because of it. One day, I walk into a bathroom to take a shit after class. Brony went into the bathroom just before the class ended. I hear weird noises coming from the stall next to me. Start hearing the fuckers say things like,
Oh yeah, try and take her fucking dick.
I look over the stall to scare the shit out of him. He's got headphones in on his school laptop, watching My Little Pony Futa hentai, masturbating furiously. I just figure I'd rather leave him alone. He stays in there for the rest of the day. This was probably the most cringy thing he did. Be near the end of the year. School hosted a talent show at the end of each year. I entered that year and wanted to play a solo on my guitar, because normies love that shit. This fucker entered too. Everyone was terrified of what would happen. After 4 or so months of practicing every day, I go to the sign-up sheet. See Brony's name on it. I get even more pumped up. Night of the show. Show is about 3 hours long, so we get to practice a bit backstage. This kid is standing in the corner, shaking. I ignore him and just focus on practicing. End up confident enough to perform. Get little tickets showing when we go on stage. I get the third to last act. Hell yeah, time to close this show with a bang. Brony asks to go last. When asked why, he says
So Mother knows when to start filming.
he calls his mom Mother. Still no idea what his act is. It's my turn to go out. I fucking kill it. Standing ovation. By far my proudest moment. The other two guys after me bombed because of it. Finally, Brony goes on with a mic. Noticed his mother leaving as soon as he got on stage. She fucking wanted him to go last so she could leave and hide from the shame. Suddenly, music starts. This motherfucker started mumbling all the words to an MLP song. He eventually stops singing for like 30 seconds and locks up. He then proceeds to puke his guts out all over the stage. He has to be carried off. He starts screaming for his mother in the fetal position. She has to come back in and go on stage to carry this fucker away like a crying baby. This poor woman is like the mommy from those Tendy Greentexts. I ended up winning the talent show. He leads me to a black Lamborghini with an anime girl decal. He told me he'd like to show me his castle and how he got his new life. As we drove to the penthouse in Atlanta, he was 16, so I questioned this until I arrived. I've heard of luxury, but this was something completely different. He had a $20,000 gaming setup, a hot tub with waterproof body pillows, a Mountain Dew machine, and a personal chef who was making Dorito-encrusted chicken tenders. I was even stopped at the door by an 8-foot-tall cyclops in a tuxedo, who wouldn't let me pass until Xander mumbled something in Romanian. As we sat down and tried this delicious new take on tendies, he dismissed his chef, and then said,
You wanted to know how my life became that of a celebrity? Sit down and let me tell you a tale,
he said as he began to elaborate.
I felt as if my life had been one of misfortune until I made a journey to the east to seek an old woman who used her high-level magic and alchemy to transform reality and bring about such a fruitful existence. Apparently, he made a deal with an old lady who changed his appearance and gave him what is essentially his dream life. This also meant making every female, other than his mom or the witch, who talks to him become deeply in love with him, to the point of abandoning relationships and becoming part of his harem of waifus. This harem lived in units throughout the building, and they've chosen to devote their lives to pleasuring their gentlemen. He even said if he got bored and needed something else, he could just make another deal. I asked Xander if I could find this old woman. I had a wish of my own. He tried to guess what my wish was. Oh, nice man, it's probably infinite orgies or real-life cat girls.
It wasn't. I wanted to live in a penthouse just like his, and live a life of pleasure. He then told me to go down to the old abandoned elementary school, create a circle of candles in the bathroom, and make my wish 3 times in the mirror. An old lady should appear and then grant your wish, but in order to keep it, I'd have to complete a task. I asked him what he had to do.
Well, my friend, I had to take the school bus this day.
He told me the tasks are simple but life-changing. If he hadn't taken the bus, I wouldn't have ran into him or got the opportunity to wish for a sick penthouse. He drives me to the wooded area where the school once was. As we reach the wooded area, he takes me down a dirt path that wasn't used since Teddy Roosevelt sat in the White House. I could feel a storm of excitement consume me. I was shaking, and my mind was racing as we approached the school. What will my car be? What will my new life be? Will my penthouse be close to Xander's? As we approached the school, I told him to wait outside as I went in and performed the ritual. I spoke my wish 3 times to the mirror, and an old lady in an old dress appeared. She told me to call my friend after my wish was granted. This sounded easy, but what troubled me is whether or not Xander would respect this decision. A cloud of smoke consumes me, and I appear in a room with a familiar harem of girls dressed in anime costumes. I realize I have one too. What the fuck? I then realize my wish was to live in a place like his penthouse, and his penthouse is the most like his penthouse. I guess the only way to live with him is to be his concubine waifu. I forgot about his wish as my mind becomes blank. I then feel myself get wet as thoughts of Xander consume me. I imagine him dominating my cute little body and slapping my ass. I don't care about anything else but being one of his cute and sexy waifus. Nothing else matters but my Sir Valiant. I send him a selfie of my body and tell him that I want him to be my mighty knight, and one day bear his child. My body is his and his alone. I ignore my parents as I go wait outside for my noble knight to rescue me. Soon I will be his. There are some that would say you should never try to be something that you're not. I never bought it, and I'm happy I never did. Last summer, my parents decided to move back to Georgia after my dad lost his job. His old boss from many years back welcomed him back in a heartbeat. Since we were moving back to the same area, I still knew some of the other kids I'd be going to school with. Being a 15-year-old edgy teen is hard enough. At least I don't have to do it with people I don't know. My brother got a job at the Hardys by my school, so he'd give me a ride to school each day, but I'd still have to take the bus home. It was on my bus ride home that I ran into my old friend Xander. We haven't seen each other in 5 years, and he barely recognized me. Admittedly, I didn't recognize him until he yelled my name. "Barry, dude, remember me?" I got up and moved closer to reconnect with my old friend. He looked a lot different. He was always a chubby kid, but this was bad. Now a sophomore, Xander now had full neckbeard attire. Fedora? Check. Trench coat? Check. Fingerless gloves? Double check. His lisp was gone, but his face barely looked like how it used to, thanks to a thick layer of acne. I asked him why he smelled so bad, but then a group of older senior girls dressed in anime schoolgirl outfits ran to him and sat in the seats around us. They could have drove, but instead opted to take the bus, knowing that their mighty knight would be riding. One of them even sat on his lap. They called him Sir Valiant of Atlanta. First off, Sir Valiant was the character he'd play as kids when we lived 30 miles from Atlanta. I asked what was happening, but he told me he'd show me. As we got off, Xander said, "You'll like this, dude."